getting there. I think anybody with bipolar is going to hear this story. About 1980s, I was going through a lot of hardship. I came back from college and I didn't go into the horse business. I tried. They were killing horses up here, so I drove taxi for a while. I'm a highly sensitive man. We know that now. We know HSPs and empaths are highly sensitive. We can't take 12 hours driving taxi at night unless people, as an empath, they do this. They just unload their story. And I never knew emotional intelligence, how to deal with that. Not that I tried to help people, but I'm not a therapist then. So it took me a lot of hardship. I got married to the wrong woman. My mother was dying of Parkinson's disease, and that's not genetic, but they said it is. Bipolar is not genetic. I don't think. Everyone I've talked to that's got well admits they had some major trauma. It's just the way the DSM writes it. So I studied trauma therapy. It was important to me because I had what is now known as compound PTSD. Canada really doesn't have a good trauma program. If you do have trauma, you have to pay for it. They don't pay for it, but they'll pay for drug pushing. I was on 28 pharmaceutical drugs and I tried suicide because the drugs were messing up my head. So I had all this hardship with horses and seeing my horse being beaten to death. Horrible things. That never left me. That was trauma. Everything was just going one after another with major trauma on top of major trauma. It's like I was in a returned soldier going into the war zone all the time. And I think it's sort of if you're living in trauma, you're attracting trauma. You know what I mean? I drove taxi and then I got 5 rounds fired at me. Yeah. I'm still alive. I'm 68 and I'm leaving Canada. I got enough trauma with those CPCs, and that's another story. I do not like progressive conservatives. They were my problem. I was trying to get back to work, but nobody can believe that you're well naturally. So how did I get well? Well, I was on Facebook. I met a woman up in Blue Mountains of Australia. And she gave me advice. She said, you're a highly sensitive empath. Like me. I'm an artist and I heal horses up here in the Blue Mountains. Your job is to heal horses. Well, it doesn't seem like it was going that way until the night. I met Barbara Chang in China. She's selling laser light therapy units to the whole Chinese government there. She says you could start up a horse therapy practice outside of New South Wales, and I'm thinking of going to Albany, Wodonga. My cousin lived there. It's a nice town, nice city, and it's sort of in between things. I don't want to be too far from Flemington or any of those racetracks in Sydney. I can fly up to Queensland, all over, and do horse therapy. I'm going to start a practice. I always wanted to get horses sound. It was drugging up race horses like they drugged me up. And I couldn't get them sound. I go to sleep at night and see hocks and legs swollen. And I look at this laser light therapy, might be able to get some of it down. I started learning a Rockford method from Queensland. All right, last week I learned from Florida craniosacral for horses. There's a bit more massage I'd like to learn, but I can learn it online and just apply it. I got equine Reiki therapy. I'm a grand Reiki master and quantum healer. That's how much I've been working on things. I started doing psychotherapy for trauma. And I thought that would be the field to go down until Barbara said, why don't you just get directly into equine therapy? I think she's right. I can sell those units quite well in Australia. I can't sell them in Canada because I got a block with China. She's a nice woman. She lives in Florida. I don't have any issue, but they have an issue right now. They're going to war against probably Japan because they dumped some radioactive waste in. And it's killed the Japanese supply of fish. Might be better for Australia. But I like Australia, and my mother was World War II vet. So there's a history, and let's talk about the genetics of this. What do you call it? Trauma from, it's got a word to it. I was studying it from Arizona. The generational trauma affects the DNA. That's true. It affects the DNA strand, and it causes years and years of build up trauma. I'm of the lost generation, a part Aboriginal, part Irish. That's a lot of trauma there. My mother was in Port Darwin when the place was bombed, and she was in Port Moresby during World War II. That was when the nurses were tortured by the Japanese. Yeah, there's some trauma from the Japanese torturing her sisterhood of nurses. She was an Australian lieutenant of the Armed Forces. I think she could, if she could look down today and see the monuments and how they've honored Australian nurses, she'd be so happy. I think there's so much that's changed in Australia. And I like Chris Waller's wins lately. He came in from New Zealand. He's doing really well there. And I like horse racing in Australia. Canada had good racing, and then got one-armed bandits, and drugging was killing the industry. It ran down every track for a long time. And I hate being called a bum. Dressage owner says you're a bum because you worked at the tracks. Went to college and tried to learn more to get a handle on the swelling and ligament problems. I read books on lameness and conformation and everything for years. And then I started talking to a man up in Oregon, North Virginia, that was into laser light therapy. Says it does amazing things. It brings that swelling in the hocks and knees down. And equine Reiki is very, and I've increased the energy by advancing my Reiki skills to very advanced levels. And I've studied Qigong and quantum healing. When I do muscle work or anything, I'm applying energy into those areas. I don't think I'm wrong. I've had amazing response with doing distance healing. I think I'm just going to get an equine insurance for doing business and travel across Canada to Australia. She was right. She hit it. You know, it takes a woman to tell you something. Just do Reiki and animal trauma work. I'll keep my taking courses in massage and taping and everything I can. And I'm going to use essential oils. I've been with some really amazing equine therapists in Canada and the United States that have talked to me about this, mostly women. And to me, I love horses. I love people too. But the hardships I've had with people and the narcissism, I don't want to go through it anymore. I'm just going to move on. I got a bit of debt to pay up here, but not too much, and get the license and the business going. No. Before I was all over the place, and I wanted to do life coaching. That's behind me. Something to fall back on if I don't make it at this. I'll just keep going. And psychotherapy to help people with trauma. It's maybe one or two people, but most of my life will be helping horses. I devoted my life to that, and I said prayers to God because I had ambition to see enough suffering in horses in racing and rewrite the wrongs and make the sport a king's sport or a queen's sport. I like it to come up, and because I like the winner's circle, it's a nice place to be. Those shots are hang on the wall. They're beautiful. Horse, jockey, owner, trainer, and the people that were involved. It's just something very nice for a photograph or a painting of racehorses. They're gorgeous. I can't get over how much I love thoroughbreds. Oh, I love horses. They change you from the inside out. But you ever work at something so hard? That's what you see when you go to sleep. Swollen hocks, swollen legs, swollen rubbing and using devices that were never effective, like ultrasound. Never effective. And just rubbing on liniment and wrapping and rubbing and wrapping and rubbing. A never-ending story of track bum. You know, Australia's got a lot of tracks, a lot of investment in thoroughbreds. And looks like China's not going to be racing against them. They're going to war against China. I mean, Japan. They're just really like bees, Barbara said there. They just released water into Chinese. Yes, she's Chinese. She got the big company there. Big manufacturing firm. But Australia left that open. Those light therapy units are the best in the world. I've looked all around. I've never seen anything as good as them. And I want a good unit, and I want to sell them in Australia while trade's still open. Yeah, I really think that's what I do. I was very interested in Barbara. She's a very interesting woman, but I think it's the business I'm interested in. She's a nice lady. She runs that. She's the spokesman and head of the company. Really amazing young woman that's getting somewhere in China with these products. They work on dogs, cats, horses. They'll sell good. She said, just get a therapy unit and start selling them. And I looked at how much I can make. Not bad. I'll get that going. So Australia's got racing. They got horses everywhere. And sports racing, equestrian. Austria will be the fields of making big sales. And there's a lot of rich people in Australia that buy horses. They'll sell. He was selling like a corker down in West Virginia, going to Texas. He sold 5 units one day. These guys said, nah, it's just not going to work. Just backed up and left. So he's back in his hotel room going back to North Virginia. The owner says, what are you doing? 6:30 in the morning, I was having my coffee and getting ready to fly out. No, get back here. I fired those guys. That's a $32 million Arab stallion. I want it sound. He came back and he had it sound in an hour. I know these units work, but his unit was very complicated, Dan. It had a scanner on it. I don't need the scanner. I use dowsing. I know where the swelling is and I apply it. I don't need a scanner, Dan. That was making the unit so expensive and so big you had to wear it on the belt. This unit, just a handheld unit. It's a little heavier, but it's not as big as, it's not as bad as, I think it's going to work. But I've had a lot of reasons why I'm in Australia. I'm not really fussy on the Canadian progressive conservatives at all. I figure they're going to get in the game. I've had enough hardship with those boys trying to get business going. I'll just get this going. I got enough to get going. Now I got my Canada bench. I try to press Canada until I can get it started. Get things cleaned up here, start selling online. I got saddles to sell from India. I think I'll focus on that because I got these saddles. They're a hell of a lot cheaper than there's another course I'm going to have to take saddle fitting. Hire a saddle fitter. I saw a unit in Holland that just does a mold a lot easier. Measures with a IMPA scanner. That might be easy. But there's units cost a lot of money, but see what I can get and go from there. I'm not happy here. I got my driver's license still. I don't got a vehicle. Might be able to get something loose to get across Canada, or I need a vehicle. I might get a van or something that will work from here. But life hasn't been good in Canada, no. Drug pushing doctors want to kill me. Police rescued me. I was going to kill myself. I don't like your sex, sir. I think you're over medicated. Thanks. You're a nice guy. I'll help you out. So I made friends with the police. Yeah, over medicated. But then I put doctors in jail for the misdiagnosis. And I'm tired of reading this stuff on bipolar. Now it's just a death. Because I say bipolar is curable. So everybody has a story. I've met other women that have had being labeled bipolar, got well, natural therapy. And it was all trauma. I don't know how you can combine the two. I don't know how you can combine creativity and bipolarity. There's a sickness. How dare you? You know, our world is so conservative with arts and music that it's a sickness. The only one that's sick is what Carl Jung said, Dr. Carl Jung. Any doctor that would think he can cure emotional problem with a pill is the only one that has a psychosis. I love that quote. Because that never heals anything. Now, I got talking about anger. And I told him, he's the CEO of the company, anger's good. No, it isn't, sir. I was in a hospital in Calgary with a CEO that burned out with anger. Dr. Gabo Mate talked about that. Is to let go of anger. If it comes up, you're aware of it, but don't hold on to it. It's like a hot coal. He heard me and he says, I think you're right, sir. I'm good because I don't want you to have a stroke up. But, we're learning more about mental health